Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 623, being recorded on April 7, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Spruenberg.
Hey, we're back to the 4-up view after last week, so you can see more of us. You can see my ridiculous amount of headroom because I don't want to adjust my camera. Brett, you tried to have sympathetic headroom, so your head comes to about here.
I'm going to sit further back. Apparently the 4-up variety is more visually pleasing for certain viewers, so you're welcome.
But it's still the same faces, I mean.
Yeah, we can't fix that. No number of ring lights is ever going to fix that.
We can go back to the other look, but it's going to look super empty right now. It's just,
awkward.
It's no
awkward.
reason to do that. You can find out. Okay, normally you can find out when we go live for events like this podcast recording session by signing up for our exciting mailing list. It's like Office 365, like Office 364, Office 362, 359. So we usually send out an email before we go live. Brett failed miserably. He blamed it on some technical issue. It's fine. I mean, it's Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night at 10. If we were doing it at a different time, or if we'd canceled it, then maybe people would be upset. But
there would be trouble. A strongly worded tweet might have gone out.
Now we're doing it. People are still going to be upset.
Oh, speaking of Twitter, I guess I should have notified the socials. Told social media, hey, we're going to go.
That would have been helpful, especially since I honestly did have trouble with the outbound email service that isn't there right now for us.
Outrageous lie.
For all
we know. I mean,
I'm prone to that, as far as you know.
That's the thing. I don't know.
You could have issues.
It was Scamazon. Just let me. I'll just say it.
Yeah. Bezos is too busy counting his money, although he's not really running it anymore, allegedly.
Whatever.
The Mad Hatter in our chat says, I'm just here for the burger review. And, Bruce, there will be burger. Let's just move. Well, hold on. Before we move on to that, let's beg for money. You can go to patreon.com/PCPer and support what we do at PCPer.com and this podcast and the occasional video review and other things. And we very much appreciate it. Do we have any new people?
Hey, you know what? We do. And there's one that I need to be able to read out loud just because the thing that he wrote is just so amusing. And I had no idea what he was talking about till I went to look at it. You'll understand in a moment. So we have 3 new patrons today to talk about. Gregory Wallen. Thanks very much, Gregory. Really appreciate you joining the list of patrons that we thank a lot. I'm going to maybe butcher this other person's name. I'm going to try, though. Effican Yilmaz. That I maybe got close to that. But anyway, thank you also very much. And the third guy, which I've named Banner Dude. And the reason I named Banner Dude is because he actually joined from Canada. So maybe Jeremy has some insight on this. But he joined and changed his name to an apology. Jeremy, does this sound familiar? I wish I was making this up. No. Let me read his apology out loud here. And he says, I updated the TVDB for PC Per and got you banned from uploading episode images. Sorry, they don't like title cards. And I'm like, what?
Huh?
I wish
We're so awesome we get banned from stuff we don't even know about.
You can't make this stuff. I'm like, what are you even talking about? And I went and looked, and sure enough, there's a TVDB thing out there with all of our past episodes on it. And then I sort of dug into it a little bit more. And at a certain point, the system told me that I was banned from posting anything. And I'm like, huh, how about that? And I sent him a note going like, can I have dominion over this channel in some way, shape, or form, or not? Or just some random person on the internet who says they're sorry about it got us banned.
That's funny.
Get in touch with the CRTC. They're canceling Canadian content.
Oh, okay.
We are at least 1/4 Canadian content. You have to play us.
Do I qualify as semi-honorary Canadian? Michigan is really close.
Are you sorry for something today?
Really close.
I'm sorry for a number of things, but not necessarily all related to...
Well, Wyoming's pretty close in population density to Canada, so that kind of makes us Canadian.
Maybe to Manitoba.
Yeah.
So,
About 3/4
Josh,
of a person per square mile.
Something like that.
I'm sorry to have delayed the burger eruptus. So
yes,
with that,
This is the part of the show that people are literally tuning in for, and will tune out immediately afterwards. Let's
That's
milk
so
this for
bizarre.
all it's worth. Josh in Laramie, Wyoming, take it away.
All right. Well, today I had to go back to something of a classic, and usually it's almost a burger war, a cold war, if you will, but with burgers and they're hot. Of the more and more extreme type burger with lots of additions to it and ingredients and stuff that's almost becoming esoteric. And you just got to stop that every once in a while and just go back to the basics. And so today I got a double cheeseburger with cheddar. And along with that cheddar, a nice topping of Thousand Island dressing. Nice and goopy. And under that Thousand Island is a layer of freshly chopped jalapenos. All nicely coming together on a sesame seed bun. The burger was perfectly cooked. Not, too puckish, but not raw either. The fries, as you can see, were magnificent.
Rather live.
Yeah. And so everything
curvaceous.
today was extremely good, and it came together very nicely in my mouth, and that sounds far worse than it should be.
It sounds right.
Yeah,
Please
it
describe
was-
the mouthfeel in great detail.
no,
Because
let's not do that. But
we're going to put this quote on a T-shirt.
no,
It
feels
came
so
together
right.
very nicely in my mouth.
It came
Together.
very nicely in my mouth. Was it a surprise at all, or were you expecting?
No, it was not a surprise. I was expecting it, and
you were prepared.
It was a very lovely burger and a nice lunch, and it filled me up, and I won't be eating again till tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
But can we go back to the fries for a second? I always pick on the fries, but
sure.
there are very few fries here.
That's a
Well, I only had this, so some fell out of the little, fry box into the bag, and so I just grabbed them from the bag and I put them next to it. So I had plenty more fries
Oh, good.
where that came from.
Good.
But I just thought that, I didn't want to try to restick them in the basket thing, and so I just put it next to the side and thought, this makes a nice little, it's composed picture. It's
There is artistic merit to it, yes.
There is.
some, but not much, because my photography is not fantastic.
Just use filters. Everybody just uses filters. They take a blurry photo, they shrink it, they put a bunch of filters on it. That's just...
I don't actually use filters. I just snap it.
Are you using a filter right now? Be honest.
No.
That's just you? That's all natural?
Oh boy, yeah, that's
100%
all there,
Josh.
man.
Hey, we're going to have AI strong enough in our phones pretty soon to fix all those blurry pictures that everybody takes anyway.
Does anyone know anything? Let's shift seamlessly
No.
to news
Oh,
about
geez, no.
anything of interest this week. It felt like a light week, and I'm looking at the show notes, and there's a lot on here that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, but they're not heavy hitters. But
Yeah.
I tried to do a good job.
Ryzen 3. Is it possible? Ryzen 3. Zen 3. Is it possible that Zen 3 Ryzen 5000 processors have, dare I say, Spectre-like vulnerabilities? Who can tell me more about this?
I predicted you would say that.
Well, did I predict
I
accurately?
actually know very little other than it was going
was
to
it
be a
an
predictive
exploit?
branch vulnerability.
It is definitely a predictive branch vulnerability. And from what I understand, that I only have a couple of observations on this, is that it's been theoretically demonstrated, not actually done in a kind of a working model yet. But the way that they've seen how it works, and I believe AMD has sort of said, yeah, there could be something there. go turn off this one feature if you're really apprehensive about it. I think it's PF predictive. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, it's one of their predictors. You go shut that off if you're really concerned about it. And they ran some performance tests with and without it. And it's about 1% performance. So it's not really of a sort of a detriment like Spectre was to the Intel CPUs, where it was really significantly,
right. It's like turn off multi-threaded, turn off
that's bad.
Hyper-threading and
it's a branch predictors, and they gain a lot of speed from that. But the architectures are, the way that they do that sort of thing is very different between AMD and Intel's. In the way where this has occurred inside the Intel or the AMD microarchitecture, and the way that they do theirs it's different. And their performance hit is not nearly as bad. And again, I think this is theoretical, but it just goes to prove, that, gosh, humans just aren't perfect when we build these sorts of things. We make mistakes.
it just goes to prove once and for all that AMD is better in every way, right? Right, enthusiasts? Am I right?
You're probably right.
So right.
And like Rowhammer was such a better name for the AMD vulnerability. We can't just go with Spectre again. They need something better.
Okay,
Spectre Plus, because it's AMD.
Sorry to walk over you there, Josh.
Sure you did. You don't care.
I care. I wish there was less latency.
It's predictive store forwarding. PSF.
Yeah, I didn't predict that Josh would add a remark. So like there was a collision, which could be used.
He was storing one
as a Stack Overflow exploit to like infiltrate the podcast or something like that.
Well, I was able to swap my process in at that moment and exfiltrate one of your random numbers that's going into your next hash key.
You got a memory address error, but I just ignored it, and I guess I should be worried about that.
Push on.
This next story, I thought this was already a thing, but Ars Technica is reporting on today at 11:36 a.m. that RTX Voice works on GTX cards, not just RTX. I thought that was already in place.
Beta.
Maybe it was a beta. Oh, I see. So now it's official that it's okay. So if you have an NVIDIA card from the 10 series on up, you can use RTX Voice. I've played around with it. Is anybody using it on the podcast right now?
All the way back to 600 series.
Oh, really? GTX? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You can do like on a 680 or 6. Whatever.
Yeah, 680.
I had problems with it when. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, Josh.
Josh, you're up.
I had problems with it initially. That it would work, but I'd move my mouse around the screen, and my mouse would just lag out terribly, and you couldn't click on things, you couldn't type, couldn't do anything. And so it was a pain in the butt and stopped using it. But otherwise, whenever you do like key clicking, it would cut that out. It did a nice blurring on all of my Office, which was fantastic. Need to use that again and try it out. I gotta look at my teeth. Teeth are a little bit brighter, but not much. Yeah,
Right. Cut away during the tooth shot. I'm sorry. You're talking about. You're not talking about RTX Voice. You're talking about the Studio, right? Which is a different thing. It includes RTX Voice.
Well, RTX Voice is part of the Studio.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It was available as a standalone download.
Yeah, it's standalone though. You can use it just standalone.
Nice.
For the first bash you had at it gated you weird so that it wouldn't pick up the very first syllable and then it would fire. If I vaguely remember the first time you tried it. And I know for sure that when I tried it on my 1080, that was it. It was like, it was suppressing noise to the point where if I'd been sitting quietly and then I started to talk, you get
it would chop off.
Yeah.
Right. It didn't know that was your voice and took a moment to ramp in to say, oh, wait, that's you. Bleed it in.
So I suspect they fixed that, and that's why they're saying, yeah, just go for it.
And made it more efficient.
Get the GT 730 up there and get a processing voice.
Apparently, it's not much of a drain if they can take it all the way back to 600 series architecture. It's pretty easy to do. It's all
AI assisted, right? It's supposed to get better over time, like Google dictation did.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, but are they really running an AI model on older cards like that in real time? Maybe they are.
I mean, if it's in the cloud, why not? What if this is an always-on service? Did you even need hardware? Question. This should be a service offered for use on integrated graphics. So if it's all in the cloud.
So do you think that the blurring in the Studio, when it comes to the 12-minute mark, will edit me in real time?
Oh, did everybody miss that? At 12 minutes, Josh was naked. I don't know if anybody saw that, but
just for a moment, though.
Yeah.
And it was a still image. It wasn't actually.
That's all it took.
I had to look away, honestly. But
You didn't think the ring light
People
was
thought we forgot
coming?
about subliminal messages.
I thought the ring light just was illuminating just a tad too much for me. It was out of my comfort zone.
Is it out of your comfort zone to buy brand new shiny Radeon RX 6800 XT graphics cards? Because
No.
AMD Team Red fans were notified of this, I believe, early. Red Team community. They got a special notice according to this report here. They could buy the special Radeon RX 6800 XT black Midnight
Black
Edition.
edition.
I wonder how long those lasted.
I think Maxius actually had one. He
Yeah,
was
he
able to
claims
buy
he
one.
did. Yeah.
And now he wants to sell it for like $2,000. So
He might get
That's-
it. He might get that.
Is it that
he's
much now?
lowballing it. He's lowballing.
Here's the shop link. This is AMD's website right now. It says out of stock.
Surprise, surprise.
I can't believe it. 6800 XT for $649 being out of stock.
I know. It seems like
So
fantasy.
This is essentially just an extension of their Founders Edition line.
It
They
is.
use
but it-
Founders Edition, but
Look, I don't know if you've been paying attention, Jeremy, but unlike the Founders Edition card, this one has a shroud that's mostly a midnight black color instead of a sort of gunmetal gray or silver.
So it's dressed up in evening wear.
I remember that commercial.
Thank you.
I don't.
Very nice. Swimwear.
It was
This
the
is
Russian
2 weeks in a
fashion
row
show.
of this stuff.
Very nice. Very nice. Next.
well, it's every week, Sebastian. Just sometimes we don't make you notice that you didn't get.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
sometimes it's just skipped right over it. Anyway, when I first read 6800 XT Black, I thought people were for sure referring to all the black screens that people were getting initially. I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's a special edition of the
Oh,
card.
come on.
Not just the. Yeah, I know, that was cheap.
That
I'll
was a
take it back.
cheap shot. I've never experienced that.
No,
That was cheap. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That was
AMD's
cheap
fine.
from the Intel and what is it? Apple M1 apologists.
I know.
You know where the
I can't wait.
graphics are? Power VR. That's where great graphics are.
That's used to be.
What is it now? What is it still licensed?
Oh, it's Apple's
IP,
own
or is it-
silicon now. I mean, they had the
What was
Power
it based
VR
on?
first.
Did they just write like they created their own GPU from the ground
They
up?
bought a company.
Okay. I know they bought that one company, that one
Yes.
chip company.
PA Semi.
That was them.
Yeah.
PA Semi.
Yeah.
That's them. Anyway,
Speaking of
Yeah,
things that are in stock.
speaking. Yes.
Sorry to another collision. Speaking of things that are in stock, you can buy right now, no kidding, an RTX 3080 cooler. Yes, you can buy a custom block ready for your RGB fantasies to be fulfilled. You just need it. I mean, even if you don't have a GPU, just connect it to your ARGB lighting controller and just look at it and think about, someday when the 4080 is out, I'll be able to buy one of these that's been mined to death and then put this water block on it.
to keep it alive because it is a water block now.
Yeah. At that point, maybe you'll even have there won't be any performance regression.
You're going to need it. Jeremy, that was actually a discussion of 3 different water blocks, I think.
Yeah,
One from Corsair, one from... I'm trying to remember the other ones.
Alpha Cool, the Ice Block,
yes.
and
Ice,
EK,
Ice.
and then EK with their own. All of
Surprisingly-
which, of course, they swap.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and of course, they all have RGBs.
definitely.
And the reviewer, I believe it's Kit Guru, that did this one, mentioned that they all felt like first attempts at a 3080 cooler, even the EK. In some cases, some of the RAM pads were about 2 millimeters instead of 4. So they didn't quite get the proper connection. So you had, I think it was the Alpha Cool, where the GPU temperatures were just great. The memory temperatures were crazy. And when they fiddled around with it and just sort of, pulled those off and put some on some custom thermal pads to try it, well, that sort of made the GPU connection a little bit worse, so the temperature spiked up. Whereas I think with the Corsair one, it was the opposite. The GPU had a little bit of problems, but your RAM was just just running beautifully at low temperatures. So in each of these cases, and they'll fit on a 3080 or a 3090 that are totally cards, which you can exist and buy right now. But they talked to the companies and the companies said, thanks for the feedback. You're probably right. We're going to look at redoing some of them. And it's not major design flaws. Like we're not talking anything wrong with the pumps or the channels or anything. It's just the solidity, the connection between the GPU and memory components and the cooler. So, each one's about 150 to 160. I have a feeling if there are some serious issues, it'll be pretty easy to get replaced and bought back if you, ever get a card to find out if it works on. Which
yeah.
Who needs graphics cards when you have, there's APUs for that. I don't see it on the list, but
do it on the cloud.
Who's heard rumors about 5000 series APUs? Are those coming? Will they have Vega graphics again?
Yes, that's what I read.
Not
It's just a rumor, though. I don't know.
Yeah, they haven't announced anything, so
it's going to be, summer? If not a little bit later,
June-ish?
possibly fall. Because there's the rumor of the Zen 3 Plus at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Gigabyte X570S chipset that has been leaked. And that's supposedly just a lower power X570. So you don't have to have active cooling, but we'll see. I don't know.
New process node, do you think, for that one? What if they're producing that chip on a 7nm now?
Well, I mean, if
we hear rumors,
I mean, maybe you could, but why? Or it could be just a redesign, because this 570 chip was released in 2019 with the 3000 series processors, and so it's been 2 years of that, and they could have done just a redesign on 12 nanometer that has all the features and gets rid of the bugs, and it makes it more power efficient, so that they can also shove it into next generation Zen stuff. If that's the Zen 3 Plus that is rumored about, then it would be interesting if they were able to lower TDPs because of the I/O and memory controller that is the X570 as well. Clear as mud?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. Now let's talk about nanometer naming schemes and chip fabs.
Oh no.
We got no, forget it.
You get
I
a
didn't put it
plus,
on the
and you
list.
get a plus, and you get a plus.
Let's
it's 7 nanometers. So what? Ours is 5 now because I just said it. There it is. Done.
let's talk about.
I can find a feature that is 5 nanometer on this. I can't.
True.
Ours is 3 now.
We
It's
know
3.
that those numbers are pretty much meaningless anyway, so who cares if they change it?
That was the point. Yeah, that was it. The punchline is the jokes don't matter.
Hey, you know what does matter? A $1 chip that's disrupting the entire display industry. Jeremy, tell me more.
This sucks. You thought you had display driver problems before. Well, let me tell you about this. It's not an exact analogy, but think of the the G-Sync chip, right? Without that G-Sync chip, you did not have a G-Sync monitor. Well, there's a company called Himax, which is pretty much one of the only sources of the chip which sits on every display you've got going, from your cell phone through your TV through the monitor on your car to display how fast you're going at the time, and it translates from your graphics hardware to an actual display or a displayed image on your display. Well, they're having some issues because demand has hit the point where they can't keep up with what people are demanding. And this is, and I didn't actually realize this, but this is probably the most mature technology we've got going. For the mass majority, they're either, and get back to 16 nanometer, they've got 8 and 12 inch lines of 16 nanometer, which are essentially getting 100% yield. they aren't getting any defects because they've been doing this thing for so long that they've got it perfected. And they use TSMC and UMC and a couple of other fab companies. So, of course, it's who's running a 16 nanometer fab line right now? Who wants to build out a new one? Because no one is going to really be doing that at this point. And the other problem is that because you're looking at 100% yield and you've got the prices down to literally about $1 per chip, if you wanted to build out a new fab line, if you wanted to construct a new fab and set everything up again, that chip is not going to be $1 anymore. You're going to see huge price increases on this one little bugger, which is the reason why you can't get a new BMW, because they don't have enough screens or chips for all the displays on the dashboard. TV prices are already starting to spike overseas. We'll see it here in no time at all. Same with monitors. This is going to trickle down to your smartphones and your tablets and everything. It's a catch-22 in that everything's going to start costing more if we don't do anything. But if they do anything, everything's also going to start costing more. So it's really frustrating that, what is the old saying, for the lack of a nail, they lost the war? Talking about the horseshoe?
Oh, for lack of a nail.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, hey, with one fewer player, because LG stepped out of the smartphone business officially.
Oh, that's true. That was
and then
news.
Rising prices.
Well, that was sort of like Microsoft stepping out of the smartphone business.
Well,
it's like, yeah, fine, we admit it already.
Hey, there's still people who hang on to
I don't know. That
phones.
LG G3 was a great phone for the time. It lasted for many years.
Some of the Nokias were, even after Microsoft messed up with them.
I have a couple of those.
And here I was thinking I would wait for the OLEDs to go down in price some more. That's just not going to happen, is it?
No,
I don't know, because LG, they may be out of the phone business, but they announced new OLEDs for 2021, and they're cheaper than ever. You get the A series. Talking 77 inches for $3,200.
Yeah, that's out of my range.
I know, but that's 77 inches.
I know, but I'm looking at like 55 for $1,000.
Oh, okay. They're not down that low yet.
No,
I think it's $11.99 or $12.99 for the new A1 55 inch.
Yeah, it's $12.99.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. Anyway.
But you know what? We don't have to worry about that. Because just feast your eyes on this.
Oh, look at that.
4 days, 12 hours, 50 minutes, and 50 seconds right now as we record this until the NVIDIA GTC keynote. Now, we know you can't attend Computex this year in person, but prepare to be inspired as you join NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang's keynote on April 12 to discover what comes next, it says here. A nice picture of Jensen there.
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a stage presentation, and there won't be any kitchen. I think that's probably
his kitchen now.
No kitchen.
Oh, what? Really?
What?
Seriously?
It has to be.
Oh,
you think they'll have a virtual kitchen behind him?
I just figured it would be a stage
screen
presentation.
In the kitchen.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the spatulas.
The spatulas, they sparked a lot of conversation. And I think it brought families closer together as they discussed, like, why would you need that many spatulas?
Why
do you
they all
think he used all those
colors?
spatulas? Did somebody give him all these spatulas and he didn't know what to do with them, so he used them as a decoration?
As long as it happens between one or more consenting adults, it doesn't matter.
I guess.
It's going to be all AI anyway, right? It's going to be all AI discussion. How cool they are.
Do you think there will be any mention of graphics card sales? Like, we're having a record year. We've never sold this many cards since 2017.
It depends because
they sold 100% of their stock.
It's incredible.
Yeah, but sometimes they stick their foot in it when they do or don't talk about how many they've sold to gamers versus miners. So they got to kind of be very cagey about, like, well, who's buying them? Where did you make your money? They had some issue with that in recent history.
Any more on GTC? And we'll talk about GCC next week because it'll be going on.
Yes, it will.
But
speaking of ray tracing.
Yeah, speaking of NVIDIA and ray tracing, how about AMD ray tracing performance in Cyberpunk 2077. Who has read over this article at the FPS review? Let's see. It's
Yep,
here.
sad
It's
trombone.
here. It's here. The phone book is
Yay.
here. The phone book is here. Patch 1.2 had a lot of changes, including support. Let's look at this ray tracing menu. I can't wait. You can turn on film grain, chromatic aberration for that 80s VHS kind of vintage look. Let's see.
Yes. Depth of
Where
field. Well, that's
is
normal.
the control for ray tracing? Is it under advanced shadows and lighting?
What's on the next
Maybe you should look
screenshot?
at
Let's look at the other screenshot here. There we go. Ray tracing.
Ray tracing.
Currently off.
There it is.
It's just
you
on
got
and
to turn it
off.
on before you can see
Oh.
the various features. Because there are three
Okay.
types of ray tracing.
Let's see if there are more screenshots. I can't wait.
Yes, please.
Oh, there are many.
Okay. No, those are the two.
Show me rays.
Show
Oh
me
my.
ray tracing.
Oh my.
Wait, was that your George Takei impression?
It was.
Takei.
Oh my.
Takei.
Oh my.
All right, let's go back. Now that I've found
So literally,
even
the
more.
screenshot that I used on the article I posted had the ray tracing options there for your enjoyment.
All right, I should have just used that. I'm sorry.
I tried to make it easy for
I'm-
you, but
I
usually.
Don't try and make
There
it
you
easy.
go.
for
Make things
him. He'll
hard on
find a way.
myself.
There you
He'll
go.
find a way to make it hard.
okay. So you can turn off ray trace reflections individually, or is that something that's not like locked out on AMD? Is it? This is all just available.
No, this is now turned on AMD.
Okay. Every
For
feature.
the very few seconds it takes you to realize that you should not have turned it on.
Oh wait, can you enable
It's a
Fidelity
little
FX? That's what I want to know. Is that
No.
turned on? Oh.
DLSS also doesn't seem to work for some
Well,
strange
that's
Interesting.
NVIDIA only.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, DLSS doesn't work on AMD cards? That's odd.
It's weird,
Shocking.
eh?
They
But
should
yeah,
sue.
so if you were to say take your RTX or your RX 6800 XT and fire up at 1080 and turn on ultra ray tracing, you would drop from roughly about 115 frames a second to just under 39, which is, completely and totally playable for people that like getting nausea. The good news is that at 1440p, it'll only drop you to about 35, so there's not much difference. But yeah, it turns out that once again, hardware is going to beat software. Essentially, if you were to drop down to 1080p and pick one, either shadows, reflections, or lighting, you could sort of play it. But shadows, it's 50 frames a second, so, borderline playable. When they enabled reflections, it was about 40. When they did lighting, and these are just individual, not all together, lighting dropped it down to 30 all by itself. So there's also some fiddly stuff going on because lighting it alone at ultra at 30 frames per second is actually slower than it would be if you'd use the ultra presets. So the ultra presets are actually slightly different than what happens when you just enable them manually, which is another test that someone should run. I would, except I'm running a 6800 XT, and so I don't know that I want to inflict this upon myself. So it's lovely to see that they've included retracing support, but we're sort of looking at the fact that NVIDIA is still, leaps and bounds beyond, at least with certain types of ray tracing, than AMD's chips are now.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that DLSS is a huge frame saver for the company. So
No, I was laughing at my upstairs neighbor because he's like, "Oh, I don't even need to upgrade from my 2080, even if I wanted to, because I'm still running at 120 frames a second at Ultra and Cyberpunk." And I'm like, "You've enabled DLSS, haven't you?" It's like, "Yeah, it was an option. It turned them all on." I'm like, "Yeah." But on the plus side, he doesn't see the difference.
Yeah, if you can't see the difference, then why wouldn't you have it turned on?
Yeah.
And I have to say, quality mode, after the second generation of it, quality mode, which is the smallest upscale. It's not like you're doing a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or something.
No.
It's I have a hard time. I think at 4K it's actually doing 1440, perhaps 1080 for 1440. But it looks really good.
Well,
and when you're looking at
the equivalent, what's the other? Is it Acer that does the equivalent of the G7? The ultra wide. That's essentially two 1440p side by side.
Oh, the 49.
Yeah. That's what he's running. So I'm like, the 2080 ain't pushing it out at full resolution.
yeah, no, just 2080. no.
The fact that DLSS actually makes it look good, and I've seen it. I'm impressed.
Motion, things in motion, you don't need the same resolution. That's why you can get away with less color information, even on a Blu-ray. It's not 444 color on a Blu-ray. It's like 420 or 421 or something.
No, they don't even encode it with 444. It wasn't even.
There's a 4 on it.
There is a 4. Yeah, your
one of the numbers is
luminance is a 4, right? Is that what it is?
It's the black and white essentially,
chroma.
yes, because our eyes can see detail, and the color smearing is interpolated, and that's fine for us measly humans.
Just play it wireframe mode. You don't even need textures. Just turn it on.
No, you don't really. No.
Tron.
Owls hate
current detail
encoding and color spaces. I mean, you try to get them to sit down on HDR Blu-ray, and they're just
sad.
You know what isn't sad? 8 terabytes. And I thought for some reason that 8 terabyte SSDs already existed, but probably just because like Linus or somebody had a video on one a while back. But Jeremy, you can actually buy one now?
Well, they do exist if you're willing to pay exorbitant amounts of price for certain specialist ones. But if you want something that isn't going to cost you $4,000 or more, then Sabrent came up with one. It's not like brand new. It's PCIe 3.0. It's QLC memory, but that's why it's only $1,300 for
only
8 terabytes.
Only on a stick.
Yeah, on a wee little gum stick, and you look at it, and it's like, 8 terabytes on that. I recall storage being much larger in my day.
And only 1,300 actually.
Like seriously, it's not bad. For
No, I know that
Even
sounds
crazier.
expensive, but you're right.
Oh, even crazier, the advertised prices, which I think were advertised speeds of 3,200 megabits a second read and 2,800 or 2,900 write. It did. So it's also pretty much flat out the fastest PCIe 3.0 drive that they'd tested. Who was it I linked to on this one?
But what did Alan think once it was 70% full? What did he think?
Well, but it's 8 terabytes, so that's going to take you a few minutes.
It might. Yeah.
And the other nice thing about it is that QLC, poo-poo, but 1,800 terabytes written. Like, it's that big that the actual lifespan of it is actually going to be fairly impressive.
Well, you know how flash chips are stacked inside the substrate, right? So you have multiple ones in each, actual chip. And so when you have that much flash, you're not hitting the corner cases nearly as much, just because you've got just that amount of space and that many chips that you're dealing with. So it's not like it's, when you have a 512 gig drive and like writes drop by half versus the 1 terabyte. You're seeing kind of the opposite. And if it's a good controller and good firmware, it's like, it takes more time to run out of SLC, cache. I don't know how their QLC is all set up, but it probably has some SLC in there or even just maybe some TLC cache. But with that much, it's pretty awesome.
I like the comment.
Another thing.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead,
no.
please.
Okay, I will take it. Okay. Somebody in the chat, or Razor 2048 says, rip off compared to multiple 1 terabyte TLC NAND SSDs. Well, you got to have something to run 8 in some kind of a crazy RAID configuration to equal 1 8 terabyte drive. You're paying for the convenience of having it all in one. I mean, you've always paid for density early on.
Right. And it disappears. Yeah, mounted to your motherboard, it's freaking gone. You don't need any mounting or power.
Unfortunately, it also be very easy to lose. You wouldn't lose an 8 terabyte hard drive very easily, but you could lose one of these in the cracks of the couch and never find it again.
My Bitcoin.
Someone pops it in their mouth. Juicy fruit's going to move you, you know. No, the last week, and I don't know why I didn't jump on this, but I probably should have. But at the same time, I was kind of scared. AData had that 4 terabyte for $389.
Oh,
and they had
an
updated firmware that was like 321. So I mean, it's a very recently updated, because apparently it had some issues with kind of like some freezing and quality control, and people were complaining it was dying. But there are plenty of other people out there who said, this is great because it's 4 terabytes for less than $400 in one stick. And it was, it was 3,500 read and 3,000 write, which, in certain things it probably did that. But yeah, it's based on a Realtek controller, which,
Realtek.
It's not WD, it's not Samsung. But yeah, it was sent direct from AData, and again, I was so tempted to get that and get rid of my spinning Rust game drive and just put all my games on that.
That's a really excellent point.
Because
I was thinking about taking one of my big extra drives, the 4 terabyte one, and turning that into my game drive. But then, I could just get this 8 terabyte SSD. It'd just be so much better.
It's such an affordable option too.
Yeah.
It's $12.99, $99.
Yeah.
I know that Realtek was doing controllers, but I didn't realize they were still pumping them out.
Yeah, I guess so. That's kind of cool.
Good on.
We need more competition. I mean, it's not a high-end drive. It's faster than average, but that amount of density for less than $400 when it was on sale. Now it's back up to $530 some odd dollars, which is still pretty good. But yeah, when it was under 10 cents a gig, that was nice.
We often put big drives into our NAS devices.
True.
I'm trying to make this segue work. QNAP caught napping on critical NAS bugs. I know that Jeremy has more.
Don't you love it when a company is told about a huge vulnerability in their firmware and given a date, just say 4 months off from when it was discovered by the security researchers, and they wait until literally the day before the vulnerabilities are published to release an update? Doesn't that just, fill you with confidence in your vendor? Because that's pretty much what QNAP did. It was actually, I think, about 2 or 3 days before the vulnerability. And, well, they addressed a couple of the issues that were identified. They didn't directly address one of them. In this case, you're looking at command injection vulnerability, and because this also affects their DLNA server software, an Apache HTTP vulnerability. The first was definitely addressed in a brand new firmware that came out last Thursday. The second wasn't mentioned anywhere, but there is an independent security firm, threat post rather, suggests that it has actually been dealt with already. It's always incredibly frustrating because the security firms that were looking at this aren't trying to ruin anyone's day. And in fact, because of the way that QNAP has waited until the very end, all they've done is released, a brief overview of what the vulnerabilities they are. So they haven't released them in a way that you can figure out how to exploit them. Although, of course, now that QNAP's released the patch, you can backwards engineer it and figure out how to do it. Long story short is, if you're running just about any QNAP NAS server with the Digital Living network, update your firmware like as soon as possible, because this being able to just sort of inject a command and then write a file and arbitrarily execute it, it's not what you want to have happen on your server.
It's total ownage. Total ownage from external source on this one.
No. So flash that firmware.
And you can use your NAS to do things like archive Yahoo Answers, which is shutting down, finally. So much of the internet that we once knew and loved or didn't care about.
I gave up when the internet oracularities went away.
Yeah, one of the funny
when
things
I could,
is... Oh, go ahead.
When I could no longer get to the website and play the hamster in a blender, it just ruined it for me.
It was a sad day.
It was.
Couldn't
Sebastian,
slap the monkey. Couldn't.
Can you shoot down the plane? Whatever. There's actually more than one, maybe just one serious, but there's at least two companies, crews, people, organizations, loosely knit, archiving all of these things and saving them for the future, posterity's sake, so that next generation can look back upon early internet and just look, how stupid were those people? Turns out very. Yeah.
The only thing I hope is that they actually do think we were stupid.
Well,
I'm looking at some of this. I don't want to read or show any
you
of
should.
these archived
We don't have a
questions
sponsor
and answers, but
scroll part.
one of them is how to lose 50 pounds in a month. Answer.
Yeah.
Best answer. Amputation. Do you really need legs? There's no healthy way to lose 50 pounds in 1 month, they say. Well, that is true. You would have to have some kind of surgical procedure to lose that much weight and live.
There's 100,000 more just like that.
Yeah.
Out there. And I think that if we didn't say, how is Babby formed, we wouldn't
There would be
meeting our meme quota.
There would be revolutions, because that is where that came from.
You're welcome.
I'm getting dumber by the second just looking through these. All right.
Maybe you should read a couple of the questions.
No, I find them they're exactly what you'd expect.
Disturbing.
They're in
They are.
rather poor taste.
Right. I encourage people before it's gone, which is what date again? What days ago?
May
It's top of the article.
May the 4th
May
be with you.
Weirdly enough, May the 4th be with you. Go read.
When suddenly
some
millions of
Yahoo
answers screamed out in terror and were gone.
and we're gone. Yep. So yeah, go read some. Amuse yourself. This is probably 15 minutes you'll never get back, but at least you'll laugh.
I know that
some.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye.
Speaking of money, there's a GoFundMe to support every Apple fan's favorite guy, Louis Rossmann. Is it Louis or Louis? I don't know.
It's Louis.
New York
It's
City.
Louis. I almost let you get away with that. That's not true.
He loves Apple. He is outspoken about how upstanding of a company he thinks they are, how repairable their products are. So he's trying to get his rights. There's a GoFundMe to get right to repair passed. I don't know why we have this on our list, but just so you know, it's out there. They want $6 million. They have 334,000.
I can help you explain this.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, I will. There was he's attended a lot of legislation. If you're not familiar with Louis Rossmann, he owns a repair company in New York City, and he does repair a ton of Apple gear and has a lot of choice words for things that Apple has done in the past that is not at all friendly towards repairing your devices or getting a reasonable lifetime out of them, considering how useful they may be. And he's not only about Apple, he repairs a lot of other electronics as well. But he's certainly got a point with the right to repair. Are we renting our devices or do we own them? And I personally am all about fixing things. It's just, my personal view on lots of stuff, mechanics, computers, whatever. I'm all about that. So I'm definitely want to be able to support what he's trying to do here. So he's trying to get a ballot initiative in one state where it costs them something like $16 or $20 million to get a ballot initiative in one state where all of the citizens of that state voted on it. I think it's Massachusetts. And they were able to get it passed for automobile repair. He's trying to hire the same firm to get one on there for electronics. And I guess there's an estimate of what it's going to cost to have that happen. And it is extremely expensive. You'd think a representative democracy would be cheap and easy. It's not.
Absolutely not. That's why the lobbyists actually read all the bills.
Yeah, well, it's very expensive to get this sort of stuff done.
Either.
No,
And if we
you have to
all
sell your
like
soul.
electronics and you'd like being able to do things like assemble your own computer, for instance, that's a variant, kind of like, be able to repair stuff, be able to pull a board out and repair it. We need to be able to continue to own things. So if you can support this.
Like physical
be a good
media.
idea.
Listen, if you're watching this or listening to this right now, buy physical media, because you never know when that favorite show or movie is going to disappear from your streaming service, or better yet, your entire streaming service, including your virtual DVR, disappears forever, T-Mobile, because T-Vision Live is being discontinued as of April 29, including all my DVR. So you just...
On a completely unrelated note, we'd like to announce the launch of the PC Perspective DVD collection. You can own all of our hits from the very beginning, or at least as far as we can recover from Ryan's old raid, for the low price of $29.99 or 3 easy payments.
It's a subscription fee.
Oh, yes.
It's a subscription.
It's a lending library. We only have one copy each. So if you want episode 242, you need to wait until somebody returns it, and then I'll get it.
Yeah, and don't
There
scratch
are
the
fees.
discs.
This right to repair thing affects everything from automobiles, farm equipment, computers, TVs, phones, everything. Mr. Coffee, your refrigerator. Do we own things or do we only rent them? Seriously.
Rent. You signed the EULA. I mean, you read the EULA, or you had to agree to
I hit
open the
okay
package,
because I couldn't watch whatever it was I was
reads
watching.
the EULA.
No.
And if anyone wants to argue, I will mark it myself. And you can have it back at that point if you really want it.
Before we go to our picks of the week, we have a review this week. Brad didn't let us down on what otherwise was a rather light week on the site. He has a Corsair keyboard review for us, do you not?
I do. It's not what I would call a super in-depth, extensive tear-down review, but it is, hey, I use this keyboard. It lights up really nicely. It has a very decent wrist rest that it comes with. I don't hate the keys on them, even though they're not mechanical. They're not, in any way some sort of high-end scissor switch or anything like that. They're membrane keys, but they're not bad.
Okay.
And if you are a gamer in need of some RGB lighting in your life, this could be your ticket because it's not a terrible keyboard.
How
I have
much
it right here,
does it cost? Oh, let's see.
I'm going to spill this all over
or
myself.
is it 69?
There's two variants of this keyboard. There's the K55,
Okay.
and then there's this one, which is the K55 XT Pro, which has additional key rollover and individual key lighting. I should plug this in. Why isn't this plugged in? Why didn't someone tell me to plug this in? You know what? Let me try the USB one way, and let me try it the other way. Oh, wait, now it's asking me, do I want to do a
It's shiny enough the
keyboard?
RGBs are reflecting from somewhere.
Oh, for God's sakes.
What a fail. There we go. All right. Back to the camera.
It has memory in it, so it remembers lighting inside of it. It remembers different lighting effects, and it's got some transport controls on it. It has the ability to work with the Elgato software to do transport controls with the Elgato software.
Also, it has that
fairly
extra
legit.
row of keys on the left. Yes,
Yeah,
I
let me just
see
flip that around over there.
Oh, that's
so you
the
can
other
see
side.
that.
That's the numpad, but on the left
these are the
side-
macro keys.
Yeah,
These
you
are the
have those
macro keys.
extra keys.
These are programmable macro keys.
Yes.
And it will actually, without any of the IQ software, you can actually tell it, hey, I'm going to do some, action on the keyboard. Let me just cycle that over to here. And it'll remember them, without any software programming, which is nice. So the keyboard itself has memory in it. And the wrist rest is plastic, but it's soft touch, on the edge. So it's reasonable for people who need wrist support. It's not terrible.
Okay. I see. Detachable.
I called it a Look at IP74.
Water resistance.
Yeah, so when you spill, I wouldn't spill your sticky Coca-Cola all over it, perhaps.
But this distilled water probably was fine.
You could probably do this with a little extra fish water or something and get away with it. Well, you have your fish bowl next to you, and occasionally, flies off the shelf.
An odd reference, but no, thank you.
So that's not sweat. Good.
No. So you obviously see those are membrane keys. Not.
So use this poolside is what you're saying, right?
You could easily use it poolside and be safe. I had one of my gamer friends run through it, and he said it was fairly good. Not anything close to his usual K70 with mechanical key switches, but decent all the same. I think it appeals to a budget-conscious gamer who wants a full-size keyboard from a name brand. There you go. Light up your life individually.
There you have it.
There it is.
Rock on, man. There's been so much scrolling going on. Oh yeah, it doesn't get clicky. Let me just do a little key actuation here. Let me just do something that
Hold on. Let's go to your camera.
Hang on.
Please get nice and tight to the mic.
Here we go.
Close up. It's got an organic sound to it, kind of squishy.
I can't hear anything.
Let me turn up. I'm going to turn up the gain.
Turn up the
Hang
gain.
on. Here we go.
Shh.
You hear it for the first couple, and then it mutes it.
Yeah. It's like you have some sort of noise detection happening.
The gain up all the way too.
Turn off your NVIDIA RTX voice.
My RTX voice. Basically, my impression of the keys was that there's a high amount of resistance at first, a very smooth follow through, absolutely no click, and a very fast rebound. So I would call it a fast keyboard, reasonable for gaming. Oh, look at all the stuff I just typed.
Oh boy, what's happening now?
Nope, nothing. I'm backing up. Delete. Don't post that. Nope, just kidding. Sorry.
So unsend those emails.
Yep. Now I'm sending
Damn
emails.
good thing we're disconnected, eh?
You know what you can use to send emails? Let's move to picks of the week as we wrap this up. We've been going for just over an hour. And
That's
it's kind
awesome.
of refreshing. Yeah, we're going to be done here in a minute.
Oh, thank the
Who
Lord.
goes first? Oh,
You just
Josh,
cursed us.
as is tradition. Josh, take it away.
You know what? I was looking over some laptops for my brother who needed a small one that didn't cost a whole lot of money, but was still fairly competent. And I stumbled across this Asus VivoBook 14, and it's got the older Ryzen 7 3700U, which it's not the newer 4000 series, but at the same time, it still was an advancement over the Zen Plus stuff at the then. It had reasonable Vega graphics, but for $569 for a pretty loaded small HD screen laptop, I mean, it's hard to pass up because, you start getting to Chromebooks, the 250 to 300 and a little bit higher end stuff at the 400, 500. This is only $570. And it's a solid looking machine that doesn't weigh a whole lot and doesn't take up much space. And it's got reasonable performance and okay battery life. I mean, all of these things are so much better than just like a regular Chromebook. And it runs Windows. So there you go. It's shockingly inexpensive.
And on the Intel side, you got to watch out because you might think you find a better deal than this. But a lot of those lower cost Intel laptops, they have the Pentium branding, and it's some kind of Atom 4-core that barely runs a web browser. So this would be a much better choice.
What they call Atom nowadays?
I don't know. I don't remember the latest code for the cores.
Well, so they'll call it anything. It was a Celeron at one point, and it was a Pentium.
But I call this Jeremy's pick of the week. Go.
What? I have a pick.
Did you? It's another Newegg thing, right? Because it's Newegg.ca. It's got to be you.
Yeah, Canadian pricing.
Funny money.
I mean, I gotta give a little bit of support for people up here. So you're looking for a fancy gaming monitor, and 144 hertz is just for losers, but 170 hertz of FreeSync Professional. Now we're talking.
170?
Yeah. Yes. It's FreeSync Premium.
Did you just yaw him?
ready.
I did.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
170, yeah.
Right. It gets decent reviews from Artings, ratings, if you want to call them by the other name. The advertisement lies a little bit. It says it's a 0.5 millisecond response time. It's just a mere 1 millisecond. However, it is ridiculously solid at that. It supports, as I said, FreeSync Premium. It will be G-Sync compatible, more or less, although you probably won't hit that full 170 hertz. It's kind of ugly. It does, have the vertical adjustment on it, though, and side to side, there's picture-in-picture. But the key thing is that it's currently $415. For the next 3 days, it's just over 20% off, and it's got a lot of really good ratings. It's great for gaming. It's decent for office work. Overall, just for a general purpose one, it's not one of maybe the highest scoring, but it's still way up in the 70s with an 80-something percentage overall rating. So, if you're looking for a monitor and you want something a little bit faster than the Dell that I've did a review of, this is not a bad choice right now. At $530, I'd be sort of iffy about recommending it, but for $415, go for it. Have you checked what it is in the States yet, Sebastian?
$329, but that's before a 4% off promo code. Save even more.
Yeah, I mean,
it's another $13 off.
Ooh, that's actually not bad. Is that free shipping on this? Yep, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Mine's $10 shipping, but
okay, I'm
sure you can slow that down and it'll be cheaper.
Yeah, it's free shipping.
Oh, it's HDR ready. What the hell does that mean?
Well, it's HDR 400, but the reviews are like, yeah, it's brighter when you turn that on, but it's IPS, so it gets muddy.
HDR 400 is bad.
Yeah, it's not great.
It has the enhanced color gamut, but nothing else.
Yeah, and the other thing I forgot to mention, it's got a USB Type-C on it, because it's also marketed as one of the world's first gaming KVM monitors. You got two USB 3.0s and a USB-C. If that's of interest to you.
You know what's of interest to some of our audience? Brett's pick of the week. Go.
Kind of an odd one, I guess, maybe, but it's still technologically related, even though it's sort of an automobile crossover. If you own a late model turbocharged car, you guys are probably familiar with the fact that you can flash these vehicles to really stratospheric levels of performance for the racetrack, not for street use, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Okay. It's for off-road use only. So today I was out flashing another vehicle, not in the sense of not wearing any clothes. I mean putting software in the car to make it go more. Okay, all right, just to be clear about that. And the company that I bought that from was 034 Motorsports. Okay, so I have one of their flashing tools, and I had done a couple of other cars in the family reasonably well with similar software from them. And it's a special tool that you have to have from particular companies to do this. And I'm actually holding the one that I used up right here.
Switch back to the other camera.
Yep. So this is the plug that goes in the car so that you can talk to it. And it actually comes with what I would consider one of the nicest USB cables that I've ever seen.
Let's talk about, is that audiophile grade?
It is
look at the fabric.
It's a really nice USB cable.
Didn't I see that snake in Beetlejuice?
Yes, you did. Anyway, the point here is that I was flashing this car today and I bricked the car.
Whoa!
As in, it would not start.
You've buried the lead here.
I bricked the car. It would not start. The engine fans were running at high speed. You'd go to start the car and nothing would happen.
Good job, Brett. I'm sure your friend was thrilled.
No.
Did you reset the BIOS?
Did you get a screwdriver?
It's Control-Delete, right?
I Control-Alt-Deleted the car.
Control-X.
I removed the power. You can actually drain all the electricity of the car if you remove the battery terminals and you actually touch the terminals together. Not while the car's powered. It discharges everything in the car. Rebooted the car numerous times. Nothing. Well, we got these guys on the phone and said, look, the car got bricked. I don't know what's going to happen here. He's like, okay, all right. Did you try this? And I'm like, totally. We tried it. Did you get a charger, put it on there to level the voltage? I'm like, yeah, way ahead of you. I'm like, did you put a diagnostic? I'm like, yeah, I own the diagnostic equipment. It says the controller's not even there anymore. It's like, all right, let me talk to the programming guys. So he goes back and half an hour later, he calls, all right, you have to get your laptop connected to the internet because they take a download from their servers too. I was like, hey, we unlocked you guys. You should be able to blow whatever server in there or whatever software in there you need, put it on top of the ECU, and it's going to happen for you. So we download this different program, hook it back up to the car, and it talked to the controllers, got the car rebooted on stock ECU, and then put the final software on there. And these guys, California time, so they were close to quitting time when we were doing this a little while ago, helped us out, gave me the right software tools to get the job done, and maybe stayed a little late at the office. So I just want to give them a proper shout out. Thanks for the software, guys. And the car is much faster. And it actually starts now.
Wow.
And the fact that it actually starts,
that's a big deal.
Is a big plus. Yeah.
It was a big deal that they were able to help me from, several thousand miles away, get me on a laptop connected to software that I needed. And I was able to download it, talk to a car that was dead that I'd accidentally bricked, and get it fixed in 35 minutes. So
what did you do to brick it? What was the thing?
There was this, do I really have to say this part?
Sure.
You don't have to.
You lost a semicolon in your code, didn't you?
No, there was a series of instructions partway through when they take down the initial car and get it ready for flashing, where you need to do two things in a certain order, and I reversed the order of those in the first time in a long time. And then it started writing code.
You've done this before. You've bricked a car before.
No, I've successfully flashed several cars before, except that I was, too confident in what I was doing. I'm like, oh yeah. And then I made a mistake and that bricked the car.
Yeah, but they
I figured that their software would never allow this to happen, right? Except that it did.
Oh God, I remember when motherboards could do that.
Yeah.
Didn't read your firmware in the right order, and yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of that sort of deal, but all ended well, and so I appreciate the help. I want to let people know that that's a reasonable thing to go purchase if you have one of those cars that they make the software for. It's they'll help you out even if you screw up.
What was one of these things run in US dollars?
Please do RTFM.
About $400 to $500 for a software upgrade.
So cheaper than that is my pick of the week, which is decidedly lower tech than that, but it's still electric and it has one digital thing on it. So it is a recent get here. I didn't pay the full $349 list price, but I got a Marshall DSL-1C. It is the smallest Marshall tube amp they currently sell. It's only about, I'd say it's a little over a foot square and maybe 8 inches deep.
Does it go to 11?
Doesn't go to 11. It sort of
I don't
does.
see any numbers on the dial.
I could assign the top
numbers,
one 11.
Please,
I can write it
write
in.
11. Please write 11.
You could.
But it's 1 watt. It's a 1 watt tube amp. And because it's only 1 watt, and by the way, you can attenuate it down to a half watt.
Well, if it's only 1 watt, you should rate 11 on the first notch. And then turn it up from there.
But if you know anything about low wattage tube amps, that it's very misleading. This is about as loud as like a 10 or 15 watt solid state amp, but it's because there's not a whole lot of headroom, like additional wattage, you overdrive it almost immediately with almost any guitar without any pedals or anything. So even on the clean channel, it's a little bit crunchy. And then on the gain channel, because there's an ultra gain channel you can switch over to, you can see here in this picture, you have loads of gain, and at reasonable volumes. You can actually play this in a house without getting a noise complaint, or in an apartment. Although I'd say anything over like 3, like we're talking 9 o'clock, it gets really loud at 1 watt. You can turn it down. There's a button on the back to go down to a half watt, which I didn't realize. And it has a digital reverb. It's not a real spring reverb. But
for that size, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So and the reverb sounds fine. I'd put it at about like 50%, and it has a nice, relatively springy effect. But the whole thing, it just blows me away because it sounds like a much larger amp And you can do things with it you just can't do with most amplifiers unless you're using pedals. And it drives me nuts to try to, for a casual at-home play practice, to have to put it like an effects loop together or put pedals into an amp. I would much rather do this, which has become my default amp. I mean, the entire 10 minutes that I've played it in the last week since I got it. But anyway, check it out.
You didn't pay $350 for it.
How much? How much is it?
It's $350. Yeah. I got mine brand new. There was a seller on Reverb who had it for like $297 shipped.
It's a good deal for a Marshall amp, even if it's small.
Yeah, and it's all tube, man. Tube pre-output and power amp sections are all tubes.
You know, I've got some sad news.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, what?
Isamu Akasaki was one of 3 scientists whose invention of blue light emitting diodes, or LEDs, ushered in light sources that are cheaper, more durable, and environmentally safer, has died at 92.
The blue ones?
He lived long enough to know what he did. The blue ones are important.
Like these? Right here?
Well, I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah.
Blue
It was a Nobel Peace. It was a Nobel Prize, I believe, for blue LEDs, because
blue light
that created the triad of RG, B.
There were only red and then green for a long time.
Yep. Sad day.
Blue was tricky.
Blue.
You know what else is tricky? Ending the show sometimes. It gets kind of awkward. We don't know what to say. And sometimes I just cut it off.